that. So here we are, and you got to get this picture. We're at 123rd and Lexington, right in the middle of Harlem. And we're handing out tracts. And David's handing out tracts. He's scared to death. I mean, he's just scared to death. And these two ladies come up to him and say, will you pray for me? And I could just see him he puts his arms around these ladies, he's praying for them. And if you know David, he's a pretty fired up guy. After that, he's handing out tracts. He's all over the street. Can I pray for you? Can I pray for you? And he's praying for people everywhere. So fast forward that story. He's on the board of First Things First. He's intricately involved in his church. He's a great Christian dad, a great Christian husband, a great Christian addition to this community. And so that's who we are at Equity Concepts. We're a ministry in the marketplace. So in February of 2001, I went to Niger for my very first time. And when we got back, the leader of that team said, hey, do you want to go back again the next year? And I thought, what a novel idea to go back to the same place twice. And I'm in. So yeah, let's do it. And so we went back the next year, February 2002. When we got back, he said, how about a 5-year focus on Niger? And I thought, I'm in. And then he moved away, and therefore moved away to another church too. And in February 2003, nothing happened for Niger. Trip didn't happen. So at the exact same time, I went to Kazakhstan twice, 2002 and 2003 with Buddy, he mentioned that, and Needle's Eye Ministry. And there's two things that God showed me when I was in Kazakhstan. Number one is that I didn't understand my very favorite Bible verse, and that's Luke 6:38. And it says, given will be given to you. And at the end, it says, the measure you use will be measured to you. So I'm telling this guy on the bus as we're taking the last part of this trip to get to Kazakhstan, if God gives it to me, I'll give it away. He says, you don't understand that Bible verse. I said, what do you mean? He said, let me paraphrase it for you. If God can get it through you, he'll give it to you. You're first. I went, man, I had it backwards. So I changed my giving. My time, my talent, my money, my energy, whatever it is. I said, I'm going to give it first. And it's amazing how God reacted to that. The second thing is I saw incredible focus. There's 3 churches in the United States totally focused on this one city in Kazakhstan, and the church was exploding. And I said, God, I know exactly what you want me to get from Kazakhstan. Take this focus that I just saw and apply it to Niger. So I go back to the church and I say to some leaders that we got to go to Niger and do a vision casting team. And so we did that in November 2003. And man, it was incredible what happened on that team. Came back, and then Effective Ministries, Inc. was started. That's a nonprofit. And also known as the LINK, L-I-N-K, Leading Innovatively Niger to the Kingdom. And Effective Ministries, Inc., the reason it's Effective Ministries is because it's all about focus. If you get focused, you can be very effective in your ministry. The focus of Effective Ministries is on Niger, Africa, and the City of Richmond. And we'll come back to the City of Richmond in just a minute. There's 7 full-time people that work for Effective Ministries, and all 7 of those people are paid by Equity Concepts. So Effective Ministries is an extension of Equity Concepts. The offices are housed at Equity Concepts. It's Equity Concepts' way of giving first. It's Equity Concepts' way of being in ministry in the marketplace. And it also is great for people that give to the organization because all the overhead is covered, so 100% of the giving to Effective Ministries goes right to the field. But then came December 2003. And a friend of mine, Greg Jordan, says, I want to show you this DVD called Dust by Rob Bell. And I watched this DVD, and 2 things hit me hard. Right in the middle of it, it says, these average guys, these disciples, changed the course of humankind. Average folks like us. I was like, wow. And then at the very end, it clobbered me at the end. Rob Bell says that God has faith in you to be like him. I go, whoa, God has faith in me to be like him. I said, you know what? I've got the whole thing backwards like the Luke 6:38 thing. I have all this faith in God, but now I'm realizing that God has faith in me to be like him. It rocked my world. And then I'm talking to Hal Rice, who's right over here, a friend of mine. He says, well, you ought to check out John 14:12. He says, it says right there that you can do more on this earth than Jesus did. I'm like, whoa. So I said, that's it. I'm going to say yes to God for Niger until Niger becomes a Christian nation. Not 5 years, but until it becomes a Christian nation. And I'm going to get totally unaddicted to my comfort zone, because we're all addicted to our comfort zone. Totally unaddicted to my comfort zone. And I'm going to let God do the craziest, unbelievable things that he can do through me. And then God said, hey, I just want you to get people to Niger. Just get people to Niger. And so over the last 7 years, we've had 46 teams consisting of 527 travelers from 138 churches in 20 states to Niger. And I got to tell you something. We've built relationship with these people in Niger. Here's how you know when you built relationship. When you go on a mission trip somewhere, you always go shopping to buy things and bring them back home. When you go to Niger, you buy things when you go shopping to bring it back home. But when you're in the marketplace in Niger, we've seen these same vendors 46 times. We know them by name, we hug them, and a lot of them are going to church. It truly is ministry in the marketplace. So Sharon and Brennan, Sharon, my wife, Brennan, my son, and myself, we live Niger daily. Every day has so much to do with Niger. I've been there 23 times. Sharon's been there 11. And Brennan, my son's been there once. And Brennan is the COO, the Chief Orphanage Officer. And guys, he does have an office. And underneath his office, on his desk there in his cubicle, he's got a big tub. I will challenge you to bring some gifts by the office for the orphans and put it in that tub. It will get to Niger. He's serious about it. So Niger's hard, it's challenging, and it's so worth it. It really is so worth it. So the City of Richmond for just a minute. There's two focuses with our family. The first is the Robinson Theater, 2903 Q Street in Church Hill. My friend Mitch Bennett and myself decided we would use historical tax credits and revamp and revitalize that theater. And it is amazing how the community has grabbed onto that theater. If you haven't been there, you need to go. It is revitalizing Church Hill. It's awesome what's happening. And our one employee who works there full time, Betsy, is actually here today in the back. And that's her focus, is the Robinson Theater. The second focus for our family is the Wilson kids, or the Wilson family. It's a grandmother with 10 kids, 10 grandkids. Her 3 kids are pretty much not in the picture. And we've helped them get into a house. And Sharon grocery shops with the grandmother all the time. And we just love these kids. We're just very involved in their life, like our adopted family. So I'm flying down the street in this car, going to see the president, wondering what in the world he wants. We get into his office, and he says, I want to thank you so much for all that you do for my nation. You actually do more for my nation than our own people do. He said, anything I can do for you, let me know. I said, well, I'll tell you what you can do for me. You can give me this land we're looking at for the orphanage. And no kidding, he signs it over and hands us a deed right there. He has given us so much land since that, but that was an amazing time. So October 2005, I'm over there with another team, and I'm telling this guy this story. He says, well, why aren't we building the orphanage? I said, well, we will when we get the money. He writes a $150,000 check and says, build that orphanage. So in 2006, we built the orphanage, and now Rahina, our girl that we sponsor, is at that orphanage, and 56 other kids. And all those other 56 other kids are sponsored by people all over the United States through Effective Ministries. So there's 57 kids that would have been on the street that no longer are on the street. It's amazing what God is doing. Sharon, my wife, is over there right now for 40 days, and in the process of adopting Rahina. I'll go over there on February 21st, and on March 11th, we'll bring her home. But I got to tell you, the most interesting part of the whole adoption process was the home study. 48 essay questions. It took 6.5 pages to answer them. And as I read through the 6.5 pages, I went, God, this is an awesome story. Thank you so much for using me in this story. I said, God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the hard times, the challenging times, the difficult times, the terrible times. Thank you so much, because it's changed my perspective on life. It's made me appreciate what I have, and it's made it really easy to be able to give. I said, God, thank you so much, too, for my dad, because he taught me everything not to do. as a father. So I just do the opposite, and to be a great father. I thank my dad for teaching me that. But also, I learned that it's all about relationship. This whole thing's about relationship. Life's about relationship. Whether it's with Rahina, or whether it's with David from work, or the Wilson kids, or the vendors in the marketplace, or my dad. Whereas 10 years ago, I said, Dad, I called him and said, I'm just tired of hating you. I forgive you. Let's get in a relationship. And for the last 10 years, we have been in a relationship. So it's been an awesome thing. So that's my story. That's my story. And I want to ask you guys a question. What's your story? What is that story that God is writing through you? And you know your story is nothing more than a bunch of yeses. And the most important part of your story is your relationship with Christ. It's the most important part. Listen to this Bible verse. Hebrews 10:24 says to provoke one another to another level. I hope today that I provoked you to another level. If this is your first yes in your relationship with Christ, hope you make that yes today. If you've already said yes to Christ in your relationship with him, I hope you say yes to your next level of what you're going to do for his kingdom while you're alive. So I really challenge you today to say yes to one of those two. Thank you guys for your time.